The 1775 Bible is not like the Bible we know today. It is a relic, a book that time has tried to forget, containing words and ideas that posed such a profound threat to organized religion that they had to be censored or erased. This was a Bible that dared to challenge the concept of divine hierarchy, suggesting instead that God resided not in distant heavens, but within every individual. Its verses inspired freedom, not obedience, and that made it dangerous. This Bible is more than an artifact. It is a window into a version of Christianity that could have been, one where spiritual authority was not centralized in the church, but entrusted to each believer. But why was it buried? Who decided these truths were too disruptive? And what does it mean for us today? These are the questions that will lead us into the heart of a story of censorship, control, and the hidden power of faith. For centuries, the Bible has been both a source of faith and a tool of power. The version we read today differs significantly from the one in 1775, having been edited, censored, and reshaped by councils, scholars, and political authorities. The 1775 Bible included ideas that could have transformed religion, depicting a God present within every individual and emphasizing a personal connection to the divine. These ideas, however, threatened the church's authority, as they empowered individuals and reduced reliance on priests and rituals. To maintain control, the church altered the Bible's message, turning it into a tool to enforce obedience and dependence. One of the most profound ideas in the 1775 Bible was the concept that God was not an external authority, but a presence within. This simple but radical idea undermined centuries of religious hierarchy. If the divine resided within each person, then there was no need for priests, churches, or intermediaries. Faith would no longer require obedience to an institution. It would become a deeply personal journey. This threatened the church's role as the gatekeeper of salvation. Over time, verses emphasizing humanity's intrinsic connection to God were systematically removed or reinterpreted. This shift turned faith into something transactional, where the church dictated the terms of access to God. The 1775 Bible's message of divine intimacy was buried, but it remains a testament to a more empowering vision of spirituality. Beyond its verses, the 1775 Bible contained references to other texts now considered apocryphal or heretical. Books like the Gospel of Thomas and the Book of Enoch were once part of the broader Christian tradition, but they were removed because they presented a very different vision of faith. These books emphasized personal enlightenment and direct spiritual experience rather than institutional authority. The Gospel of Thomas, for example, contains sayings of Jesus that focus on self-discovery and the idea that the kingdom of God is within you. The Book of Enoch offers a cosmic perspective, describing divine counsels and spiritual battles that connect humanity to a larger divine narrative. These books were excluded not because they were false, but because they were inconvenient. They shifted power from the church to the individual, a move that could not be tolerated. Names carry power, and the names used for God in the 1775 Bible revealed a very different understanding of divinity. One of the most striking names was Elohim, a plural term that suggests a multifaceted or collective nature of the divine. This is a stark contrast to the singular God or Lord found in later translations. Elohim implies complexity, diversity, and collaboration, qualities that challenge the notion of a single, authoritarian deity. Another name, Yahweh, represented a deeply personal relationship with the divine, a covenant of closeness and understanding. These names painted a picture of a God who was dynamic, inclusive, and approachable. But as the Bible was revised, these names were simplified and replaced. The richness of Elohim was reduced to a monolithic God, and the intimacy of Yahweh was transformed into the distant Lord. These changes weren't just linguistic, they redefined humanity's relationship with the divine, turning a partnership into a hierarchy. The story of hell as eternal fiery punishment is one of the most enduring and terrifying elements of Christian theology. But the 1775 Bible offers a very different perspective. The words used for hell, such as Sheol and Gehenna, did not originally describe a place of eternal torment. Sheol was a shadowy realm of the dead, more akin to a resting place than a pit of fire. Gehenna referred to a physical location outside Jerusalem where trash was burned, later used as a metaphor for destruction. Over time, these terms were reinterpreted and expanded into the modern concept of hell, shaped by medieval imagery and theological agendas. Why? Because fear is a powerful tool of control. The church used the fear of hell to ensure obedience, creating a narrative where salvation could only be found through their authority. But the original text spoke of an afterlife that was far more nuanced, a place of mystery, rest, and renewal, not eternal punishment. In the 1775 Bible, the apocalypse was not a catastrophic end, but an awakening. Derived from the Greek apocalypsis, meaning unveiling, it referred to the revelation of hidden truths buried by centuries of deception. This version described the fall of corrupt systems and the rise of a just world. The beasts and symbols were metaphors for oppressive powers destined to collapse under their own lies. Over time, this hopeful vision was replaced with one of fear, emphasizing destruction, fire, and judgment. This shift served to reinforce the church's control, offering salvation only within its walls. The original message, however, was one of liberation, urging humanity to awaken, not fear. The story of Adam and Eve in the 1775 Bible takes on a profoundly different tone. Far from being a tale of humanity's fall, it is a story of choice and awakening. Adam and Eve's decision to eat from the tree of knowledge represents humanity's first step into moral awareness, the moment they gained the ability to discern good and evil. Later interpretations reframe this act as the original sin, a catastrophic event that doomed all of humanity to guilt and suffering. This shift wasn't accidental. It served to position the church as the sole arbiter of redemption. By labeling knowledge and curiosity as sinful, the church created a system where salvation was only possible through obedience and submission. But the 1775 Bible doesn't speak of eternal condemnation. Instead, it portrays the story as the beginning of humanity's journey toward wisdom, growth, and understanding. Adam and Eve's choice was not a fall, it was a leap into consciousness, a moment that defined what it means to be human. The doctrine of original sin, central to modern Christian theology, is absent in its rigid form from the 1775 Bible. Early Christians did not believe humanity was born inherently sinful. Instead, they saw the story of Eden as symbolic of human freedom, the ability to make choices and learn from them. The concept of original sin, as we know it, was developed centuries later, largely by theologians like Augustine. This doctrine solved a problem for the institutional church. It made salvation a necessity, something only the church could provide. By framing humanity as inherently broken, the church ensured its position as the sole path to spiritual wholeness. But the 1775 Bible offers a more hopeful view. It doesn't speak of inherited guilt, it speaks of growth, responsibility, and the possibility of redemption through personal understanding and connection with the divine. Jesus, as portrayed in the 1775 Bible, is a figure of profound spiritual revolution. He was not here to reinforce religious authority, but to dismantle it. Time and again, he challenged the leaders of his day, calling out their hypocrisy and their obsession with rituals over love. He preached a message of personal connection to God, emphasizing that the kingdom of God is within every individual. This teaching, simple yet radical, posed a direct threat to institutional religion. If people believed they could access the divine directly, what need would there be for priests or elaborate ceremonies? Later interpretations softened Jesus' revolutionary message, aligning him more closely with the structures he sought to disrupt. The 1775 Bible preserves a Jesus who empowers the individual, who calls for compassion over law, and who sees divinity as accessible to all, not locked away in temples. The kingdom of God, as described in the 1775 Bible, is not a distant realm to be reached after death. It is here, now, and within each of us. This idea fundamentally changes the relationship between humanity and the divine. If the kingdom is within, then faith becomes an internal journey rather than an external obligation. This undermines the role of religious intermediaries and places spiritual authority back in the hands of the individual. Modern interpretations often push the kingdom of God into the future or the heavens, creating a sense of separation and dependency. But the 1775 Bible's message is clear. Divinity is already present, waiting to be recognized and embraced. The Gospel of Thomas, referenced in the 1775 Bible, is one of the most striking examples of a text that was suppressed because it empowered the individual. Unlike the canonical Gospels, the Gospel of Thomas doesn't focus on miracles or parables. Instead, it contains sayings of Jesus that emphasize self-discovery and personal enlightenment. One of its key teachings is this: the kingdom is inside you and outside you. When you come to know yourselves, you will become known. This message directly challenges the idea that salvation is something external, provided by an institution. Instead, it suggests that divine truth is already within, waiting to be uncovered. Such ideas were deemed too dangerous, too independent, and were excluded from the official Bible. The Book of Enoch, another text referenced in the 1775 Bible, offers a cosmic and mystical view of spirituality. It describes the fall of the Watchers, a group of angels who descended to earth, and the resulting corruption that plagued humanity. Enoch is taken up to heaven and shown divine secrets, gaining knowledge too great for ordinary humans. This book expands the scope of Christian cosmology, connecting humanity to a larger, more complex divine narrative. But such a vision was considered too radical. The Book of Enoch suggested that humanity was an active participant in a cosmic struggle, not just a passive recipient of divine will. It painted a picture of a universe where divine beings interacted with humanity, offering a sense of wonder and mystery that was later stripped away. The reinterpretation of hell was one of the most significant shifts in biblical history. In the 1775 Bible, terms like Sheol and Gehenna referred to places of rest or destruction, not eternal torment. The concept of hell as a fiery realm of endless punishment was influenced by pagan mythology and later Christian writers like Dante and Milton. By the Middle Ages, this terrifying imagery had become central to Christian theology. It served a purpose: fear. Fear ensured obedience. It made people reliant on the church for salvation, creating a spiritual hierarchy where priests held the keys to heaven and hell. But the original texts carried a different message, one of nuance, ambiguity, and mystery, far removed from the fire and brimstone narratives that dominate today. The Book of Enoch, referenced in the 1775 Bible, offers a fascinating perspective on humanity's relationship with the divine. This ancient text tells the story of the Watchers, angels who descended to earth and taught humanity forbidden knowledge. Enoch, a human chosen to walk among the divine, witnesses the consequences of this knowledge: corruption, power, and chaos. The text doesn't frame humanity as inherently sinful, but as beings capable of wielding profound power, both constructive and destructive. The Book of Enoch paints a universe teeming with divine beings, cosmic struggles, and untold mysteries, suggesting humanity is part of a much larger story. This narrative was too complex, too empowering for institutional religion. Removing it stripped away a vision of humanity as active participants in divine drama, leaving only a narrative of obedience and submission. Names are more than words, they carry meaning, power, and connection. In the 1775 Bible, the names used for God, such as Elohim and Yahweh, were profoundly significant. Elohim, with its plural connotation, suggests a divine complexity, a collective force, rather than a single authoritarian figure. Yahweh, on the other hand, represented intimacy, a personal and covenantal relationship between humanity and the divine. These names invited believers to see God as both expansive and personal. However, as the Bible evolved, these names were replaced with Lord, a title emphasizing hierarchy and authority. This shift was no mere linguistic change, it altered how people understood God, replacing an approachable, multifaceted presence with a distant, commanding deity. The 1775 Bible's preservation of these names reminds us of a richer, more connected spirituality that has been lost to time. Fear has always been a powerful tool of control, and few concepts have wielded fear as effectively as hell. In the 1775 Bible, hell is portrayed very differently from the eternal fiery torment so familiar today. Terms like Sheol and Gehenna referred to temporary places of rest or destruction. Sheol was a shadowy underworld, a neutral resting place for all souls, while Gehenna was a literal valley outside Jerusalem where waste was burned, a metaphor for cleansing, not eternal suffering. Over time, these ideas were reshaped, influenced by pagan mythology and medieval imagery, to create a hell designed to terrify. Why? Because fear is a powerful motivator. By presenting hell as a punishment for disobedience, religious institutions reinforce their authority as the sole path to salvation. The 1775 Bible invites us to question whether hell, as we know it, is a divine truth or a human construct designed to control. The apocalypse, often interpreted as a fiery end, takes on a new meaning in the 1775 Bible. The Greek word apocalypsis translates to unveiling or revelation, and this is precisely what the 1775 Bible describes: a great unveiling of hidden truths. The beasts and symbols of destruction in Revelation are metaphors for systems of oppression, not literal monsters. The text calls for humanity to awaken to its spiritual potential, casting off the chains of deception. This apocalypse is not about annihilation, but transformation. However, later interpretations reframed it as a terrifying judgment day to instill fear and dependence. By focusing on destruction, institutions ensured their authority as protectors from divine wrath. But the 1775 Bible reveals an apocalypse of hope, a time when humanity sees through lies and steps into a new era of truth and enlightenment. Jesus, as presented in the 1775 Bible, was not a figure of religious conformity, but one of profound disruption. He stood against the religious authorities of his time, challenging their obsession with rules and rituals over love and compassion. His teachings emphasized that the kingdom of God was not a distant paradise, but something present and accessible to all. This vision undermined institutional power, which relied on controlling access to salvation. Jesus' message was one of liberation, not subjugation. Yet, over time, his revolutionary spirit was subdued in favor of a portrayal that aligned more closely with institutional interests. The 1775 Bible preserves the voice of a Jesus who sought to empower individuals to reclaim their spiritual freedom, a figure who preached love over law and connection over control. One of Jesus' most radical teachings in the 1775 Bible is his declaration that the kingdom of God is within you. This simple statement undermines centuries of religious hierarchy. It places the divine not in distant heavens or sacred temples, but within the heart of every individual. Such a message eliminates the need for intermediaries, empowering believers to find God within themselves. Modern interpretations have often shifted this kingdom to the future or an external realm, reinforcing dependency on institutions. The 1775 Bible's emphasis on the present, eternal kingdom challenges us to rediscover a spirituality rooted in personal connection and divine presence. The Gospel of Thomas, hinted at in the 1775 Bible, offers an extraordinary perspective on Jesus' teachings. It doesn't focus on miracles or laws, but on self-discovery and enlightenment. One of its most striking sayings is, "When you know yourselves, then you will be known." This gospel places the responsibility of salvation not on external rituals, but on the individual's journey inward. It suggests that divine truth is already within us, waiting to be realized. Such ideas were deemed too empowering, too independent, and were excluded from the canonical Bible. The 1775 Bible's preservation of references to this gospel offers a glimpse into a Christianity that celebrates personal spiritual freedom. The Apocalypse, as presented in the 1775 Bible, is not a moment of divine wrath, but a call to action. It is a time of unveiling, when humanity sees through the illusions that have kept it bound. This vision is not about fear, but hope. It speaks of the collapse of oppressive systems and the awakening of spiritual truth. The beasts of Revelation symbolize powers that must be overcome: greed, corruption, and control. By reframing the apocalypse as a transformative event rather than a destructive one, the 1775 Bible offers a message of empowerment. It challenges us to participate in this great unveiling, to seek truth and embrace our divine potential. Throughout history, many texts were removed from the Bible, not because they lacked authenticity, but because they challenged the power of institutions. The 1775 Bible preserves references to these lost books, such as the Gospel of Mary, the Gospel of Thomas, and the Book of Enoch. These texts emphasize personal enlightenment, equality, and a direct connection with the divine. They suggest a vision of Christianity that is more inclusive, more human, and more empowering. The decision to exclude these texts was not about protecting doctrine, it was about controlling the narrative. The 1775 Bible reminds us that the faith we know today is just one version, shaped by centuries of edits and omissions. The 1775 Bible consistently points to a radical truth. The divine is not distant, but present within each of us. This idea, buried beneath centuries of dogma, challenges the entire structure of institutional religion. If the divine is within, then faith becomes a personal journey, not a system of obedience. The church loses its role as the gatekeeper, and humanity regains its spiritual independence. The 1775 Bible invites us to rediscover this forgotten truth, to reclaim the divine presence that has always been within us. The final message of the 1775 Bible is not one of condemnation, but of awakening. It challenges us to question the narratives we've been given, to seek the truths that have been hidden, and to embrace a faith that is personal, transformative, and free. This Bible is more than a relic of history. It is a call to action, a reminder that spirituality is not about fear or hierarchy, but about love, connection, and the divine potential within every human being. Will we heed its call and rediscover the divine within ourselves? Fear has been one of the most effective tools for maintaining control over spiritual beliefs. The 1775 Bible challenges this narrative by presenting faith as something rooted in love, understanding, and enlightenment rather than fear. Modern versions of the Bible often emphasize the consequences of disobedience, reinforcing the Church's role as the sole protector against divine wrath. The 1775 Bible offers a different perspective. Faith is not a transaction to avoid punishment, but a journey of awakening. It speaks of a God who is not vindictive but compassionate, calling humanity to grow, question, and connect. This shift from fear to freedom is transformative, removing the chains of fear-based control and replacing them with the liberating power of truth. One of the most radical ideas preserved in the 1775 Bible is the notion of humanity as co-creators with the divine. This concept reframes humanity's role from passive subjects of divine will to active participants in a shared spiritual journey. By emphasizing humanity's ability to connect with God directly, the 1775 Bible dismantles the hierarchical structures that place priests and institutions as intermediaries. This vision of co-creation is empowering. It calls on humanity to recognize its own divine spark and to act as stewards of love, justice, and truth. Such a message was a direct threat to institutions that thrived on control. The removal of these empowering ideas was not an accident. It was a deliberate effort to suppress a vision of faith that gave too much power to the individual. The 1775 Bible does not shy away from the complexities of faith and spirituality. It suggests that doubt, questioning, and exploration are not weaknesses but vital parts of the journey. This contrasts sharply with the rigid certainty promoted by later versions of the Bible, which often discourage questioning and critical thought. The 1775 Bible portrays God as welcoming those who seek truth, even if that truth challenges established norms. By embracing the unknown, believers are invited to deepen their connection with the divine. This openness to questioning dismantles the rigid control structures of organized religion and places the power of spiritual growth back into the hands of the seeker. The apocalypse, often framed as a moment of fear and judgment, takes on a completely different meaning in the 1775 Bible. It is not an end, but a beginning, a great unveiling of truth that frees humanity from centuries of deception. The imagery of beasts and plagues represents not punishment, but the fall of corrupt systems that have kept people in spiritual darkness. This apocalypse is a call to action, inviting humanity to awaken, embrace their divine nature, and build a world rooted in justice and truth. The 1775 Bible asks us to see the apocalypse not as the end of days, but as the dawn of a new era of enlightenment. The 1775 Bible is more than just an artifact. It is a testament to a vision of faith that empowers, liberates, and connects. It challenges us to question the narratives that have been handed down and to rediscover the divine truths that lie within. This Bible speaks of a God who is not distant but present within every person, of a faith that is not about fear but about love, and of a spiritual journey that is not about obedience but about awakening. As we uncover these hidden truths, the 1775 Bible leaves us with a choice. Will we continue to follow the narratives of control, or will we reclaim our spiritual independence and embrace the divine within? The call has been made. Will you answer it?